Okay, fam. We're trying this. This is running through Starlink. This ain't no regular dog and pony show. This is running through Starlink. Through the power of satellites. Like DirecTV. Or other stuff. We're gonna see how this works. I don't know. We're gonna see. Our ISP sucks ass, and so I was like, screw it. I've got this mini Starlink thing I brought to the Bahamas, and so I'm gonna try it. And so we are booted up there, and we're trying it. So we're gonna see if that works. If it does, shout out to Elon for making it possible. The bit rate is going to be lower, almost certainly. So it may not look as crisp as it normally does, but that's just kind of what we're dealing with at this point. Beggars can't be choosers, right? This is not the time to be picky about that. I'm just glad that it's working, if it is. So we'll kind of gauge it. We'll see how we do. Jacob, I can record a native version of this if it continues to work. So we have a higher quality one for you to edit off of. And we can go like that. That way we can at least have some workable stuff. And then I can upload this separately at another time. Okay. Sound good? Sound good, everybody? We'll see how this goes. And I mean, I mainly just want to hang out and chat. But here we are. Yeah, I'm back. We're good. We're rocking and rolling. We can talk about some stuff, and you guys will just have to forgive the less than ideal image quality as we go with this, because it's kind of the best of what we've got right now until my ISP figures their crap out. But anyway, how are you guys? How have the last few days have been? How's the week's been? Yeah, there's been some funny drama. Amir Zidane says, speaking of Starlink, have you heard about Elon's feud with Asmongold in the Path of Exile situation? It is like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like this billionaire that clearly is boosting his account. He's paying somebody to like play some stuff for it. Like everybody knows it. It's not a surprise. Like, and it's kind of like that pirate software thing where if he just like said what everybody knows, it really would not be that big of a deal. But because like they cannot accept or admit a fault or a shortcoming, they just end up looking ridiculous. And it's like Elon insisting that that it's all legitimate. And then also once people start bringing evidence, he like dodges it multiple times and then like leaks Asmon's private DMs out of nowhere. And then like is trying to break the news that he uses editors to make his stuff. It was just bizarre. Yeah, Pirate did nothing wrong. Exactly. Like Pirate had my understanding. I was talking to Sarth actually, who let's just say he knows his World of Warcraft, and because he was at the AC event, and I was like, explain this whole Pirate software thing to me, and he's like, literally not a big deal at all. He's like, they were playing. He kind of screwed up, kind of played selfishly, and so a couple people lost their level 60 characters. It was a sucky situation. We've all done it. It all sucks. Like sometimes you play a game and you screw up and your teammates die. In this case, it sucks because they lost a lot of progress because it was hardcore WoW, but it just sucks. Like it's too bad. The problem was that Pirate apparently just did not want to admit that he screwed up. Like if he just said, I screwed up. Oh, it's a bummer. It really wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but just did not want to acknowledge it at all, which is what's particularly crazy. Whoops, I moved that. There we go. Move that down. So anyway, that whole thing is bizarre. It's like, just say the thing. Just be like, yep, I screwed up, guys. I'm sorry. Would have been no issue, but it's like same with Elon. If Elon was like, yeah, I'm a billionaire, I paid somebody to boost my account, sue me. Like, what are you talking about? You know, it's just a stupid thing. Let's see. Bilbo Baggins, thank you also for subbing with Prime over on Twitch, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. I did see somebody send a super chat on YouTube on the other stream before it popped and died. So if you could tell me what that was, I can read off that message and give you that little shout out. But I don't have that listed here since the stream crapped out. Was it Sir David? What did you say? What was the message? Thank you for that. First of all, my hands are cold because I just had to run out into the snow and run a cable from the Starlink down through the window well into the router. And so now it's serving as the network. It's the whole thing. Just telling you, welcome back. Well, thank you, Sir David. I'm glad to be back. And I tell you what, I cannot wait to get back into the regular swing of things. Talk about games, talk about everything. I've been going stir crazy, dude. You don't realize, like, if you love talking about games and that's like part of your day-to-day life, and then you go to a foreign country with a bunch of people that don't want to talk about games, don't know anything about games, and like will actively judge you and dismiss you for like talking about games and wanting to play games, you go crazy, man. You go crazy. And now I'm back and I'm ready. I'm charged up. I guess that's, it's a great example of what a vacation should do. I don't feel more rested than before. I feel more exhausted than before I left, but I feel more like hungry to do what I need to do, which I think is good. But, shout out to Jacob and Trevor. They've been working their asses off, going back through old streams, finding content to clip. We still did a couple of little segments and stuff that I uploaded separately. So, we made it. Will we get a podcast with Jor this week after the Shadows embargo? Would be great to hear you both soundboard off of each other. Yeah, for sure. I think we both are going to have extended thoughts on what we played and everything. It was really, really cool. And I mean, I'll tell you what, right now, it's like, I just want to talk about it. I just want to vent about it and share my thoughts and like everything. I just want to get all of it out, because there's some interesting stuff, this is not going to be one of those situations where it's like, there's nothing to say, it's going to be a good day when the embargo lifts. Rip me, I had an extension blocking YouTube Shorts and it blocked live chat too for some reason. Oh, really? Oh, that's weird. Did he say vent? I meant vent like all of my thoughts. Get everything out on the table. I don't mean like, I realize it sounds like I'm saying something sucks, but no, I'm not saying that. I'm like, I just want to get all of it out. I just want to talk about it, But I'll tell you what, got a lot on this little SSD right here. I'll tell you what, all the secrets of the universe right there. Right there. Joaquim, 23 months. No way it's 23 months. Are you kidding me? Almost 2 years?
Joachim Pedersen is now a member.
That's crazy, dude. Thank you for that. That's crazy. 2 years. That's insane. Well, thank you, my friend. That blows my mind. It feels like yesterday. I can't believe that. That's wild. Time flies. Yeah, for real, dude. For real. Yeah, Spencer, about time, Luke. I was wondering where the live stream. I was wondering that too, man. I've been going stir crazy. Thank you, everybody who's out here on Twitch. Thank you for everybody out here on YouTube. I'm glad to have you all here. And like I said, especially once we get the internet stuff sorted, we'll be in the regular swing of things. Can't wait. Cool Pandas, thank you for the 5. I beat Veilguard after 70 hours. Enjoyed the first 20, hated the rest. Nothing like the Mass Effect 2 finale
Lucas
I was promised.
Severson is now a member.
That's
what is
funny.
this anti-European streaming time?
I know, the gall. The gall. Yeah, don't worry. We're going to get back to the regular stream schedule. We just, today we had the work being done on the house, so we're stuck. Proto, jeez.
Proto is now a member. PFFFTTTT only 23 months? Can you do 24? Joachim?
That's awesome. Proto, thank you. 2 years? That's insane. Yeah, you, Joaquim, Proto, you guys are OGs. Lucas is also an OG, 14 months. That's insane. Thank you guys. And Cool Pandas, I was so relieved to uninstall it. Dude, to get burnt out after 20 hours and put another 50 in, I think you might need help. I think you need to talk to someone. That's crazy. That's crazy. But then again, like, I also forced myself to finish Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Which after 25 hours, I mean, I burnt out, and then there was another like 600 to play before the credits rolled. So there's that. Luke, shift your glasses up and down if Shadows is good. I'm not falling for that, man. I'm not doing that. You gotta wait. Why would I give away the secrets when I can get you to watch a video on the 23rd? I don't actually know when on the 23rd. Jacob texted me after the stream died. RIP. And then because we got it back up and running, he goes, unrip. That's funny. Jacob's been going stir crazy too, not having much to do. But here we are. Here we are now. Boo. Fair enough, but boo. Yeah. Oh man. I'm glad to be back though. I want to talk about some of this stuff. You know, we're gonna ease into it because we are streaming later, and you know, I want to stick to a decent pace for everything. I'm also trying a new way of organizing clips and stuff. We have a handful of things we can touch on. I think some of it we'll save for when we're doing a longer stream. Like, for example, I want to look at some of these videos breaking down DLSS 4 in some more detail. I want to talk a bit about the stuff that NVIDIA revealed with like the neural rendering, whatever the hell that means. So I want to touch on that stuff in more detail, but they're bigger, like they'll be bigger segments, I think, because there's a lot to talk about. Like a lot to talk about. Yeah. What are my thoughts on TikTok? I mean, it's kind of like pure brain rot, but I can appreciate it for allowing a lot of exposure. That's cool.
Luke Z is now a member.
You know?
Welcome back from your travels, Luke. Hope 2025 is your best year yet. Thank you for 26 months of entertainment. We vibin'.
Yeah. No, we are vibing, and we will continue to vibe. Thank you. 26 months. Talk about an OG. Gee whiz. That's crazy. Thank you, my friend. How many hours did you play of AC? I don't think I'm allowed to say. I can't say much of anything. The TikTok ban, Luke. I mean, I will say it was really, really funny watching TikTokers freak out for only 16 hours. Honestly, I wish it was for longer. Just because it was so funny watching like these people. Like, to be clear, I know a lot of TikTokers. Okay, I've met them at events. 99% of them are lovely people that I love and cherish dearly. But some of the worst people I know are also TikTokers. Okay, like, I'm just saying. And so watching those people freak out, you know, was kind of Schadenfreude. Like it was kind of just, okay, like everything will work out. I'm sure they'll figure something out. Mr. Beast will buy it and then do a competition to sell it off to somebody for whoever can watch the most ridiculous videos for 100 hours straight will win it. I don't know what they'll do, but you know, it'll probably work out. There's no way it's just going to disappear permanently. And that was never really going to happen. It's pretty clear that it's just being used as like a bargaining chip right now. It wouldn't surprise me if they're like, okay, we'll permanently not enforce the ban if you do something like I don't even know what it would be if they already host the servers through the Oracle network, so it's already hosted on US based servers, but they'll come up with something, you know, it'll stick out, you know, or stick around. Yeah, you're right. Luke's a TikToker. I technically post on TikTok. I don't post it myself. I have an editor, Trevor Allstar, who clips them and puts them together. Does a fantastic job. So shout out Trevor, but I don't really look at it. I don't actively work on it. It's just a different animal. Like I was talking to somebody in the Quebec event about it, and it's like one of my videos, like the main channel videos or even the live channel videos, the average watch time will be like 9 to 12 minutes. 9 to 12 minutes. Like, that's significant, right? That's somebody sitting down for a while watching. On TikTok, for these like big creators I was talking to, their average watch time on like their main content, they told me was 25 seconds. And I'm like, okay, so like it starts to make sense why you could have these situations where TikTokers have really impressive numbers, and the numbers are really big on follow counts, on views or whatever, but the engagement and the significance of that encounter is not as high, because somebody can watch for 25 seconds and then swipe up and they're not thinking about it anymore. Whereas if somebody's watching a 45-minute review or something, they're going to like care more about that, and that's going to have more impact. 25 seconds is a very long time and perfectly normal. Sounds pretty long to me. I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds like a long time, like a really, really long time. Yeah. They're just different platforms. They're different platforms, and they should be treated differently. And, I've been telling the TikTokers I know for like a year since I first met most of them. A little over a year ago is when I met the first ones. I've been telling them diversify, not just in terms of platforms, which you should do. You should have stuff on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, on Reels, whatever, but also make long form stuff. Just do it. You got to diversify. But you see it all the time where TikTokers could have 1 million followers on TikTok. They try to move to YouTube and they can't break like 5,000 subs because it's just a different animal. It's a different beast entirely. They take different skill sets too. I'm not very good at the short stuff. That's why I have somebody do it for me, because I'm just not good at it. But other people are very good at it, and then they struggle with the long form stuff. So it's just, they're different animals, but they each have their niches. They serve their purposes, I'm sure. But, yeah, the ban from the outset was just based on this really flimsy, to be fair, I've not read through the bill word for word. Okay. But my understanding is that there was some national security vulnerability through the app that was found. And when they showed it to all these boomers in Congress, they were like, ooh, we have to ban it. So they shut it down and passed this bill with pretty overwhelming support, which is stupid. Especially because they banned that, but then they are willing to let Tencent operate, which is also a massive Chinese conglomerate that owns major portions of dozens upon dozens of companies, not just in the US, but all over the world. It's a little insane to think that just TikTok, just whatever it is, ByteDance, should be victim to a ban like this. It was always kind of targeted. I always kind of have suspected that maybe there was some encouragement from lobbying through Google and Facebook, who stand to gain a lot if TikTok is permanently banned. I always thought maybe there was something fishy going on there, but either way, I think they're going to postpone the ban, as I think Trump has already done, postponing it 90 days, and then they're going to find some solution, and it's just going to be a thing from there. But the whole thing was always bizarre, and it was always silly, but it was so short-lived. I mean, hopefully it just forced people to go outside and touch grass for a little bit. Yeah, funny you mentioned Tencent, as it was labeled as a Chinese threat to America. Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that if the previous administration had carried forward, the same administration that put this TikTok ban in place, I think they would have taken steps to ban Tencent and anything that Tencent was a part of. Which, I mean, you think the blowback from TikTok was bad? Imagine if every video game you've played that has Tencent's fingers on it, which is most of these massive ones, you could see any game produced with Unreal Engine banned, because they own a chunk, a pretty significant chunk of Epic Games that makes Unreal Engine. So would they then ban any game made with Unreal Engine, because Tencent will benefit if you play that and pay royalties in turn to Epic and then to Tencent in turn. Like it's a slippery slope, and pretty soon you're going to be banning like every piece of media ever. And it gets really, really messy really quickly. So yeah, the whole ban was silly from the start, but now it's at least resolved for the near term, which, what are you going to do? Speaking of what are you going to do, let's actually touch on this. Our first video game topic that we should touch on. You ready? Jack, I watched the KCD2 dev stream yesterday and they gave you a shout out for failing that quest. Oh, for the schedule thing? Yeah, in the preview thing we did. Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar, in KCD2, the preview I did, there's a quest line where if you go and basically this guy tells you, meet me here at sunrise. We're gonna ride for this camp where this thief was or whatever. It was like people who raided a cart, and he says we're gonna do it in the morning. I went off and I did something else. Like I needed a horse, so I went to find money to get money to buy a horse. And straight up, like, I come back 8 hours in game too late, and the guy, like, the quest giver is walking back to the fort where he lives. And I talk to him, and he starts yelling at me for being late. He's like, yeah, and we went here, and we found these people, and we got these materials, but it sucks to suck, basically. Like, he chastised me for being late. And this entire quest line, like a 40-minute quest line, maybe more, I don't know, was just gone. Like I just missed it because I wasn't punctual. And when this NPC said, meet me here at this time, I didn't do it. And so I missed out on it. Like it's one of those really cool things about Kingdom Come Deliverance, where when an NPC tells you something, like you listen. If they say, hey, save this guy that's about to be executed tomorrow morning, you have to do it now. You can't go and be like, okay, well, I'm going to wait to do that quest until later. Like, no, he will be executed in the morning, and then that whole thing fails. But it's just a really cool thing about Kingdom Come Deliverance is that there's touches like that. Some people hate it because they like the sort of arcadey, video gamified versions of those worlds where you can just kind of turn your brain off and ignore it for a little bit. It's like in Cyberpunk 2077, meet Hanako at Embers. We've all been there, right? You hit that point and then you do a bajillion side quests before you do the final mission. Like if Warhorse made Cyberpunk 2077 and it said meet Hanako at Embers, there would be no waiting. Like you would go, and if you didn't meet her that night when the quest pops, she would leave and you fail. But that's just the difference in how they're structured. So it's I didn't know that they mentioned it on their dev stream, but when I ran into it, Sir Toby was like, I didn't know that happened if you missed that quest, because basically what happened was I needed the horse. There's a horse you can get for very, very cheap if you pass a charisma check. If not free, but you need to pass this charisma check. And they had built it out in a way where you should be able to pass that check very, very quickly. But because I had been in the stockade for whatever crime I committed, I stole something or I robbed someone, I was testing the game. So I was trying to play evil and push the boundary. So I went to the stockade, and then you get like a humiliation debuff that makes you like really shy and makes it so you can't pass charisma checks because you're ashamed of being arrested and having tomatoes thrown at you and stuff. And so I couldn't pass the charisma check, and so I failed that quest line as a result, and it was really, really cool. Yeah. It was Toby who gave you the shout out. Yeah, Toby's awesome. Toby's really, really a cool guy. Yeah, shout out Toby as well. Yeah, I feel like I need to be in the kind of mood for that kind of system. Sometimes I just want a game to be a game. Exactly. It's different for everybody. And that's why I was talking to Joe Raptor about it. Joe Raptor also, he did a preview of Kingdom Come, and he doesn't want to say it's bad, of course. He's just like, it is not for me. He's like, I don't really like it. I don't really like it. And that's fine. That's fine. It's okay for a game to not be for you. The problem is when somebody is like, because it's not for me, therefore it's bad, you know? That's when it's stupid. Do 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 do. Ba 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 ba. Okay. You just made me, Russell, you made me copy and paste that into Google Translate. I went to all that trouble to translate it. That's funny. Oh, you got me. Got me. Okay. But yeah, now we have to, speaking of talking about getting got, we have to touch on this real quick. Yeah. Wrong button. New segment. Booyah. Booyah. This is going to be good, fam. This is going to be good because this story is ridiculous, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to figure it out together. Okay. YouTube's popping up being like, the stream is unstable. I'm like, you're telling me. Look who's running it. Look who's running the damn thing. Okay, here we go. So I touched on previously the story about the 2 live service games that Sony canceled pretty much out of nowhere. And when I say out of nowhere, I mean, nobody knew that these games existed. Like, the rumor was for a long time that the game Bluepoint was working on was a new IP. That's what the rumor was. People with knowledge of the situation said that it was a new IP. Turns out they were working on a God of War live service spin-off game. And Sony Ben's live service game was also canceled. And that was allegedly using tech from Days Gone. And it was a whole thing. And now it's dead and buried. The point of this story has to do with how they went about this. But first, impulse thing is that it's insane that anybody thought that this was a good idea. I have not found a single person online who said, oh, God of War live service game, that sounds so fun. Like, that sounds great. Not a single person. I haven't found them. If you found them, if you can come across somebody, tell me. But I can't find a single damn person. Everybody that has heard about this is like, thank God they canceled it. And here, like, Bluepoint, I'm sure, very capable, probably could figure it out, honestly. But who wanted that? Funny how the same publishers who release some of the most broken and mid games in the industry are hoping GTA 6 release at $100 because I think it'll allow them to increase their price. Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. Don't worry. Don't you worry. We're going to talk about that. It's a whole thing. It's a whole vibe. I respect the Miyazaki candle. Thank you. Thank you. I do too. We all should. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Who asked for this? Like, seriously, who asked for this? The answer is quite simple. Nobody did. Nobody wanted this. Everybody thinks this is a bad idea. And their choice to do it is pretty clearly motivated by greed. The greed in their hearts. There's really nothing else that can explain it. And, people throw around the term greed a lot. And it's kind of a pet peeve of mine because sometimes it's not greed. It's just the reality of business. If a company is producing, like somebody was saying that GTA Online being a thing is greed, Take-Two's greed. And I'm like, I mean, GTA 6 is going to cost $2 billion to produce when all is said and done. That, like, they're going to make a lot of money from day one sales and from people buying the single player game, but they're not going to make $2 billion. Like, do you have any idea how much money that is? $2 billion is unbelievable, but that's how much that game will have cost them when all is said and done. And as a result, like part of what they're doing is they're also building up this online element, which is part of the $2 billion cost, to be fair. But like the live service element is how they're also subsidizing and paying for the single player component. It's just kind of how they have to do it. Now, where greed comes in is when they overstep and where you start to see shark cards and when you start to see like the sort of predatory microtransactions, loot boxes, things like that. Like Call of Duty, when they break the game with a gun that's like totally busted and it just so happens to be available in the store right when it becomes the meta because it's so busted. And they're like, yeah, it's just a funny coincidence that keeps happening. Yeah, it's DMR zone right now because the DMR is so broken. We'll get around to fixing it in a couple weeks, but as for right now, it's available in the store. And so if you don't want to grind it, just go check it out. You know, like everybody knows what they're doing. But in this case, all of this, I'm bouncing around a lot, but because I missed you guys. I'm out of practice, but with this, with regard to like a God of War live service game, they are taking an IP that is storied at this point. I mean, it really is a well-established franchise that is focused on story, on narrative, on especially since the reboot in 2018, it's focused on character arcs and things. To take that and rework it into a live service game is insane. It's ridiculous. I mean, and what's even more ridiculous is that this was greenlit, presumably right after Demon's Souls launched, which was a highly beloved and very well-received remake of the classic game, of course. That was a PS5 launch title. And then Herman Hulst and Jim Ryan have them do a live service God of War game. And at that point, remember, that was before God of War Ragnarok launched. So they were looking at just God of War 2018 and said, yeah, let's do a live service game. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But that's who's leading PlayStation at the moment. This is why I've said for a long time, I don't know how Herman Hulst could still have a job. I don't know how it's possible. Like it doesn't make sense to me. He has consistently failed his way upwards in the company. And, part of his push, and Jim Ryan is also very, very responsible for this, to be fair. His whole push was the live service thing. But Herman was supposed to level that out. And Herman was supposed to have his pulse on the gaming industry to know what they like, what they don't like, what they need, what they don't need. And Herman has just totally failed at every step. And yet somehow he keeps getting promoted. He still continues to climb his way up. And this is why, like, my prediction at, like, back in December, I think it was that Herman would not survive 2025 as co-CEO of PlayStation. I'm like, I think he might just happen to retire or pursue a new opportunity at some point this year. Because at some point, how many billions of dollars do you have to waste before you lose your job? If I lost, well, let me take it out of this. I have employees. Jacob, how many billions of dollars would you have to lose me to get fired? Even though you're my brother. If you lost $1 billion, I think you might lose your job. If you lost 1/10 of $1 billion, I think you'd lose your job. No, 7. I'm saying, like, the idea that you could at this point, freaking Bungie, $3.7 billion on that. Concord, by some accounts, $400 million, $4.1 billion now. They canceled a further plethora, dare I say, of live service games. This is Radek put this together. You can see PlayStation was planning to release at least 12 live service games, but when making the list on stream, it's actually more than that. Only 3 have released so far. 1 was released, then quickly shut down. 7 have been canceled, and another 7 we're still waiting on. And as you can see in this full list, Concord lost tons of money. Fair Game $sign has lost tons of money. It might make it back. Horizon multiplayer game. This represents hundreds of millions of dollars, no doubt. Marathon represents hundreds of millions of dollars, no doubt. These might still be successful. We don't know yet, though. Horizon MMO from NCSoft. That's in partnership, so that's kind of tricky to include here. Media Molecule live service game, unannounced. Maybe canceled, maybe not. Bungie Gummy Bears, unannounced. Maybe canceled, maybe not. Jason Blundell's LA Studio game. Who knows? Last of Us Online. This probably cost them hundreds of millions of dollars. They started working on it in 2019, is my understanding, before the launch of The Last of Us Part 2, when it was just factions, and then it evolved into its own spin-off game when Herman and Jim kind of decided, this looks great, let's do that. So this, when all was said and done, probably cost them $200 million. 4.3 now. Twisted Metal, let's say 100. 4.4. The Great Web by Insomniac, who knows, 50 million to 100 million, we don't know. London Studio live service game, that disappeared. God of War live service game from Bluepoint, they spent like 4 years working on it. It's dead. Ben Studio live service game that they spent another 4 or 5 years working on, like that's also gone. By all accounts, like conservatively, $5 billion have been spent on these live service games in the pursuit of live service cash money. And they've gotten Helldivers 2, that was a success. So there's that. Gran Turismo 7, I guess you could say that's a live service game. Yeah, I did have microtransactions and stuff. So yeah, I guess you could say that. And then Destruction All-Stars. Like, that's the legacy of the heads of PlayStation for the PS5 gen. It's unbelievable. And as I've said, I don't know how many billions of dollars you have to burn before your boss calls you to the office and says, what are you doing? Because I would think 1 billion would probably get you screwed. 2, I don't even know how you still have a job. 3, are you trolling me right now? 4, this is insane. And 5 billion for a company their size is ungodly. It's insane. It's insane. So all of this is wild, but as you can see in this article put together by Paul Tassi on Forbes, it quotes another series of people, but basically what the vibe of the story is as outlined in the title, and I encourage you to read this because it brings up some interesting stuff. Concord has it scared Sony straight on its PlayStation Live service ambitions, and part of the feeling for this is that there are leadership shakeups going on within the upper echelons of PlayStation. Specifically, there are strategic shifts that are being made. And this is significant because it kind of came out of nowhere. And one of the ways we know that it came out of nowhere was because Bluepoint and Bend staff learned their live service PS5 games were canceled at the same time as everybody else. It's claimed now that the people making these games were sitting in the studio working on the games, and then they just saw on X that their games were canceled after Jason Schreier broke the story and all this happens. To be fair, there is an update. Jason Schreier questions the story, stating on Blue Sky, which he posted now. I think he got off X. He said, it's not true. People across the org were informed before my article went out last week, but there's other people saying that they weren't, or at least they weren't aware. At the very least, it seems like if there's debate over who was informed and who wasn't, or whether people were or were not, it was not a well-known, whoops, wrong button. It was not a well-known thing within the studio, okay? Or at least it was not as clear as it probably should have been. But either way, it seems like these decisions, these shifts have been made very sharply, kind of almost at a last minute pace. I'm sure the decisions were made months ago from the leaders, and they're only enforcing them now or bringing it up now. But still, it's very, very interesting how quickly this pivot has been made. Because just a year ago, Herman Holst was allegedly telling people within PlayStation that Concord was the future of PlayStation, that Concord was going to be it was going to be their Star Wars. People openly called it Herman Holst's baby behind closed doors. Nobody wanted to criticize the design directions or what they were doing because they knew how much the game meant to Herman and the other PlayStation executives, how confident they were in their goals. Really, it paints a picture of a company that has not just no leadership, but a company whose leadership is just maybe delusional is the term, or woefully misguided at the very least. Very misguided. And that's almost worse than being rudderless. Because at least being rudderless, you can occasionally stumble into success or stumble into the right place. When you are just totally mistaken and you're actively going the wrong way, you will never end up in the right position. You're only going to end up in the wrong place. If you're in the middle of the ocean and you know, okay, the port is over there, so we're going over there. At least if you're just floating kind of randomly, kind of throwing random crap at the wall, you might end up over there. But if you're going the total wrong direction, confidently, you're going out to sea and you're going to sink, And that's kind of where PlayStation's been at for going on 5 years now, it seems. They've poured so much money into these live service games and projects that has just gone nowhere. And now we are seeing the consequences of it, and where all of this is going just seems to be just burning cash at this point. But people are questioning whether this is the start of a new direction because these projects are getting canceled, because they are rearranging their release lineups and they're trying to figure something else out. This year is going to mark some pretty major bets for them, though. This year, we are expected to get Fair Game $. Yeah, Luke, you're totally forgetting how much of a hit Fair Game $. Is going to be. Yeah. I do feel kind of bad. Okay, I don't. Interesting little thing is one of the senior level designers on Fair Game $, followed me on X. I was like, oh, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Like, if you want to talk, let's chat. But I was like, are you hanging out? Are you keeping an eye? What are we doing here? But yeah, this game, they have a lot of money riding on this, but I have also talked to people who, let's just, in typical journalistic jargon, I've talked to people with knowledge of the situation, that I'm very, very confident have knowledge of the situation, who have said probably 60-70% of the desire to buy out Haven was for the talent. It was for the programmers, the developers and stuff, the tools, because there's a lot of people at Haven apparently who have experience working at places like Google, who have experience working with cloud tools and developing cloud tools. And so that's a big element of the acquisition. The game, of course, they hope the game is a big hit, but the other big part of this is the software and the talent that they bought out. But this game, I mean, they revealed this, you can see copyright 2023. They revealed this May 24th, 2023, going on 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And we've heard nothing since then. Nothing. You can see after Concord died, a lot of people came back into the comments and started talking about it again. Concord jumped so Fair Games could dive. Gamers, Concord is the biggest flop in the history of Sony. But wait, there's more. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody expects it. And as I've shown you before, this is an actual QR code. Actual QR code. If you're feeling curious, take your phone right now, Open the camera app, scan it. You know what link pops up? Take their money. And it takes you to their website to enter like a newsletter, whatever. It's insane. It's crazy. So this is a big bet of theirs that has not been canceled yet. Okay, so they feel confident about this one. To be fair, they also felt confident about Concord, so take that with a grain of salt. Beyond that, they also, of course, have Marathon, which is a big game that they're betting a lot on. They've already invited content creators, streamers, and stuff out there to get their feedback. So we'll see how that turns out. Live service games, though, are so tricky because it's not just about whether streamers like it. It's also about whether like average consumers like it and whether audiences watching streamers while playing that same game like it. You are threading such a fine needle with these live service games, especially when they need to blow up to the extent that Marathon needs to blow up. Because like Marathon can't just be okay. Marathon has to basically single-handedly justify a $3.7 billion acquisition. And do you have any idea how big this game would have to be? Like I said earlier on stream, GTA 6 is expected to cost roughly $2 billion, somewhere between $1 and $2 billion, especially when you factor in marketing and stuff, which is going to be crazy once they ramp it up. It's going to be a massive game in terms of budget and total cost. They will make a profit on it, though. Their current public financials, in their like 10Ks and everything that they've published for investors, they expect to see, a $4 to $5 billion boost over the next like 18 months once it launches in terms of revenue. It's going to bring in a lot of money. Do you think GTA 6's online mode is going to be smaller than Marathon? No, I think Marathon is going to be significantly smaller than what GTA 6 and GTA Online is going to make. But like Marathon needs to justify a $3.7 billion purchase. That's insane. That is so much money. So, I mean, they need it to be a smash hit. The other thing that they're working on, Guerrilla is working on a Horizon Zero Dawn multiplayer game. They have hundreds of people working on it. Like, it's a massive, massive project. It seems all hands on deck for that game. They are not, my understanding is that like they have a single player game in pre-production, but all of their dev talent is working on that live service game. All of them. And that's the one that kind of looks like Fortnite mixed with Monster Hunter. Who knows? My impulse, my gut check is that if people like hunting monsters in games, they will play a little known niche franchise that's probably going to blow up this year called Monster Hunter, and they'll put most of their time into that, playing that with their friends. Maybe the Horizon multiplayer Monster Hunter game is so good that people just eat it up and it becomes the new crazy trend. I'd love to have a new crazy trend for all of us to sink our teeth into, but we'll see. I think the odds of it taking over Monster Hunter in the year of Monster Hunter is lower. They might push it into 2026, and if it has a year apart from Monster Hunter, then I could see it finding some success. But what is the age-old like meme? What's the meme of Horizon? It's that Herman Holst and all those guys are like super maybe over emphatic, over enthusiastic with Horizon. They think it's way bigger than it probably actually is for the average consumer, and they always try to make it a thing. They just announced their green lighting. Like what was the story? I've already forgotten because that's how little like I really care about Horizon stuff. Let me see. I posted a tweet about it. Yeah, this. Yeah, they're making it a major motion picture. Again, who asked for a Horizon movie? Stop trying to make fetch happen. For real. It's just like The game's fine. Like, even pretty good. I don't know who's asking for a movie. Who wants a movie, man? But with this, because of that overconfidence, maybe Jor did. Yeah, probably. He's gonna represent like half of the total ticket sales. Who knows? we love making fun of Jor for Horizon. You know, we love poking fun. Even though I'm like, no, they're like B- games. Like, they're pretty good. I just don't think they're masterpieces, but PlayStation acts as though they're masterpieces, and it drives me crazy. It's kind of a turnoff, frankly. But anyway, they part of this overconfidence is that they pair the game with things that it really shouldn't be paired against. Horizon Zero Dawn notably went right up head to head with Breath of the Wild and the launch of the Switch for some reason. Like, it launched right at the end of February, right next to the launch of Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild reviews come out. It's a 10 out of 10, a masterpiece across the board. And so it kind of got stomped on a little bit. And I remember there being a ton of reporting at the time where journalists were like, maybe it could have done even better with sales if it were given a little more breathing room. And it ended up doing very, very well in the long term. It had a long tail in terms of sales, but it kind of stumbled out of the gate because so much attention was on the Switch and Breath of the Wild because that game was so fantastic. And then what did they do for the sequel? They launched it like literally right next to Elden Ring. Like, why? It's a totally unnecessary mistake. So what are they going to do this time around? They're probably going to wait to launch the Horizon multiplayer game until they find out the release date of Elden Ring 2 and the Bloodborne remaster, and then they'll somehow manage to launch on the same day as both. Probably. Bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how this works out for them. Yeah. That's just what they do, though. They think that they're like, they can go head to head with those. And I don't think that they can, frankly. But they have that in the works. That's a big budget live service game that they need to pop off and do really, really well. And in terms of other ones that they're also working on, you know, there's sort of speculation with some of it. We're not totally sure what else there may be that they're working on. Like I said earlier, when we looked at this tweet from Radek, Fair Games, Horizon multiplayer marathon needs to be big. The NCSoft MMO for Horizon, who knows? I don't think they want to launch these next to each other, right? Like, why would you launch an MMO right next to a multiplayer game in the same franchise? I think you want to give it breathing room. So this thing, probably the NCSoft game is a little further off. The multiplayer game is supposedly like pretty set, pretty much done. Not done, but like, you know, it's nearing being done. So we probably see this revealed very soon. But all these unannounced games, who knows if we ever see that. I think the Bungie Gummy Bears game thing was canceled, but maybe it wasn't. It's just, they've spent so much time, so much money on these. They're going to put the other ones out that are pretty much done and ready to put out. But at that point, like, I just don't think they're greenlighting any other live service games. I think the guy Hiroki Totoki, who is now the president of Sony, served as the CFO. Yeah, this guy. He is now like one of the big movers in the company. I mean, he's the guy, and his whole thing is margins. He was asked in an interview, what is your focus as the leader of this business? And he said, margin. And you know a surefire way to minimize your margins? To waste billions of dollars on crap. That's a great way to minimize your margins. The notable thing was that they said at this point in the generation, the PlayStation 5 and its games, its business in general, should be operating at like a 20% margin. You know, they should be making 20 cents on every dollar. PlayStation is stuck down at 6. And after canceling these projects and the other ones that they've canceled, Concord's implosion, those types of things, they, depending on how they account for it, because accounting can be kind of like statistics. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. It's like depending on where you put the money that you spent, you can make it look better or worse. But depending on when they wrote off the costs of those games and those projects, their margins could be below 6% now. They could be down at 5 or 4%. We'll see when they file their final year reports and everything at the end of their fiscal year. But all told, like, their business is not where it should be after what is allegedly like a dominating generational performance with the PS5. They are not actually financially where you would expect them to be, which is why investors have been pretty perturbed. And I think Totoki is going to kind of force them to figure their crap out. And what he's going to do, and mark my words, this isn't like a bold prediction or anything, because it's pretty evident that this is where they're going. Totoki is going to force them to stop wasting money on high-risk projects. And as a result, I think that means new IP, much rarer. There's ones already greenlit, like the one from Naughty Dog, but Naughty Dog is kind of an exceptional case. They can do whatever they want. There's rumors of a new IP coming from Santa Monica Studios, specifically Cory Barlog, that has been greenlit for a long time. So that probably sees the light of day, but I don't think we see any other crazy green lights of new IP moving forward from now. And I also think that you're going to see a lot more day and date PC launches. I think you're going to see a lot more ports. There's rumors of a lot of their games coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that's very, very likely. So I think they're just going to continue doubling down on those things that just continue to print money. And they're going to try to take many fewer risks, which is probably smart after wasting billions of dollars on all this nonsense. Yeah. And new IP are already rare. Yes, already. And part of the reason that they're rare right now is because for the last 5 years, as game budgets have ballooned to a crazy extent, you've seen studios and publishers realize that they need to widen margins somehow. And part of the way that they're doing that is by giving players what is more reliable in terms of performance financially. And that's sequels, that's remakes and remasters that are really cheap to put out, that people buy for sake of nostalgia or whatever else. And so if you're already feeling like there's sort of a creative stagnation in the industry, it's probably only going to get worse moving forward. But yeah, Concord was a new IP. Oh, they're like, we gave you what you wanted and you didn't like it. But here we are, man. Here we are. We're at the precipice of either a total transformation for Sony, where they're going back to basics, back to the single player way of things, back focusing on what has performed well, which are narrative single player games focused on quality first, innovation second, and greedy monetization third, perhaps. Or we're going to witness just the total creative bankruptcy of PlayStation, and they're just going to become even more focused on pumping out remakes, remasters, remakes of remasters, etc., etc. It's a rough time. This is also grim. Bizarrely enough, the one company that has an onslaught, a variable, again, plethora of new IP coming down the slope is Xbox with their studios. They have a lot of new IP, reboots of old IP. They have a pretty crazy number of pretty ambitious projects, which is not where I thought we would be when this generation started. I thought, oh, PlayStation's going to probably continue dominating this generation, and Xbox is going to try to figure out how to make things work with ZeniMax, and we'll go from there. But so far this generation, like, it's kind of remarkable, but Sony has been the one just putting out the soulless garbage. And occasionally, we get something really good from them. We get a God of War Ragnarok, we get a Helldivers 2 occasionally, but we also have gotten a lot of just blech, And it's like, I can appreciate a remake or a remaster here and there, but man, when that seemingly is all your company is focused on right now, it's kind of depressing. Yeah. Why not just make any single player games? Because single player games are freakishly expensive right now. And if they flop, like, the studio goes under. And so they only want to greenlight the single player games that are going to be guaranteed hits. And even when they greenlight those, you end up with like a Spider-Man 2 situation, which cost, but according to some of the leaks, as much as $300 million to make. And I mean, it made a lot of money. I like, but I don't even know if it's in that spot yet where it's like a big financial success for them. Alan Wake 2 might have changed in the last month or two, but as of like December, this past December, Alan Wake 2 was still not profitable. It was still not profitable after like a year plus out. That's crazy. That's crazy. But that's just where we are. I mean, these games cost so freaking much to make. And so something's got to give, which leads us into our next topic. And if you're watching this as a stream clip, you should check out the other stream clip I'm about to do on how a game industry analyst and some various people are hoping that GTA 6 will cost $100 so that other publishers can justify upping the price to that point. So that's what we're going to talk about now, because here we are. Darius, dang, $300 million and it takes me 3.5 hours to beat. That's funny. It was pretty short. Oh, man. Okay. Let me catch up on these like super chats and stuff real quick. Thank you for all the follows, guys, over on Twitch. Thank you. You think games can get leaked on purpose like Oblivion? Oh, yeah, without a doubt. No, there's also instances where like media companies or movie like production companies will leak casting decisions early to be like, you know, all those stories, X actor is being considered for this role. They're just seeing what the public reaction is like, and then they're going to change their decision or double down on it, depending. Like, it's all just same old, same old. So without a doubt, there's instances where they'll leak stuff and then gauge public reactions, and then they can choose how they want to market it based on that. Titus, look at me. It's been bugging me that his head's been turned that way. It's already $100 with tax in Canada. True. But Canada is also operating with monopoly money, which makes it kind of difficult, you know, to gauge economic factors. And I'm not just saying that. I was just in Canada a few days ago, and they were joking that they use monopoly money. Oh, man. Okay, let me catch up on these. Yes, rambling. I mentioned earlier with your very generous $10 super chat that we were going to get back to it. I'll read that to lead into this story here in just a minute. Russell, I'm sorry. I closed my Google Translate tab, so I don't know what that says. I'm sorry. Russell, thank you for that one. The other super chat. How much money should or how much money Sony should burn? Definitely more than $1 Concordillion. Concordillion. Maybe we should use that as a new term, like a new term for an amount of money. So like a Concordillion. That's what you said. Concordillion dollars is 400 billion. So if something costs like $1 billion, we're like, wow, that costs 2.5 Concordillion dollars. That's funny. Spider-Man 2 cost almost $1 Concordillion dollars. I like that. That's good. Swerve and Dune, thank you for the 5. BioWare lost another game director. As an old school BioWare fan, I'm worried about the future of the company. What do you see as its path forward? Yeah, Corinne left BioWare. The quote, I believe, was for an opportunity she couldn't pass up. I don't know what that means. I mean, it might honestly just be a job offer at another studio. you never know. I don't really think it's worth reading much into it because people leave all the time after games launch that they worked on for a very long time. It's very, very common. So like when the game director of The Witcher 3 left CDPR to go found his own studio, which now we're making, or now we know they're making whatever, Dawn Walker. Did that mean that CDPR was dead? No, it just meant that he thought he had another pursuit. So I don't necessarily want to read into it too much, that just because Corinne is leaving, therefore something horrible is happening. I really don't know. The people I've talked to that are familiar with like how the actual numbers looked for Dragon Age, it sounded like the numbers were in line with kind of what they were expecting. It doesn't sound like it was that big of a surprise. Who knows? If they were expecting it to perform badly and lose a lot of money, that could go with what they're saying. Like if they were expecting to lose $100 million on it and then they lose $100 million on it, they're like, yeah, it fell in line with expectations. That doesn't mean it was good, you know? So it's really, they always choose their verbiage very, very carefully, but I really don't know. I just don't know with BioWare and how all that went. Who knows? And Seven Shepherd, BioWare is not CDPR. That is one thing we can agree on. I agree. You got me there, my friend. Let's see. Jeff Massacott, thank you for the 5. Hey, Luke, big fan. Excited to finally catch you live. Keep up the great work. Thank you, my friend. I'm glad you could catch me live as well. Sorry for the less than optimal quality on today's stream. If you guys are in here, you know, and you weren't here earlier in the stream, my internet service provider is a hot steaming pile of garbage. And so for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, we've had problems with our internet where it goes from like 250 down, 40 up. I'm paying for a gigabit, but it'll go from there, drop down to like 0.8 down, 0 up. Like it just can't upload anything. And then it goes back up and then back down. Then it drops for 10 minutes and then comes back. It's all over the place. So right now I'm streaming through a Starlink Mini and it's holding up, but because it's a Starlink satellite thing, like when a cloud goes overhead, the signal's going to get worse or something. I don't know, but it's a little unstable. So that's why the quality's been a little all over the place. Let's see. If I had $100 million, what game would you make? I would make an isometric for 100 million. So 100 million, I'm limited on budget. But if I was limited on budget with $100 million, which I understand for like an indie game, that's a huge budget. I'm saying like, I can't do a AAA game with 100 million in 2025. It's more of a AA game. So I'm going AA. I'm going to go probably isometric, pirate. I want it to be like a sim game. You know, I want it to be like really grounded, really realistic. I want it to be gritty. I want it to be narrative. I want to narratively focused. I want it to be focused on the golden age of piracy. And yeah, I think you could do a lot of really cool stuff with it. Pillars 2 then? Yeah, basically. Let's see. Let me catch on this. Nathan, thank you for the 5. Thank you. No message attached to it, but just thank you, my friend. Nerd Rage. Let's see. Thank you for that. Hey, hope I find you well. Do you think they're delaying AC Shadows again to reduce the escape from the story and kill him? They've delayed it too many times. IMO. No, I mean, no. Just there's no question. No. As for why they're delaying it to polish it. And then the second delay pretty clearly was just pushing it to March so that they would have an entire month basically to themselves to dominate marketing, to dominate play tests, to dominate the reviews dropping, to dominate all the discussion. Like, it just works. In some ways, it actually shows a sign of confidence to go into your own little space because now there's nothing to hide behind. Like I was joking, like kind of half joking, that releasing right after Avowed might actually be a good idea, because Avowed has stirred up a lot of controversy themselves for stupid reasons, but still. And I was like, oh, releasing right after Avowed might actually be a good idea, because Avowed will dominate all that discourse and then AC Shadows can just kind of drop. But by giving themselves their own month to basically be the big tuna in that pond or lake, I don't know, the analogy's lost on me, I don't know fish, it could actually be a good thing, a good idea. So there's that. But yeah, to think that they're gonna write Yasuke out of the story, no, that's no. Like, do you have any idea how big of a deal it would be to not just like to cut or change a single cutscene is a massive ordeal this late in development? Like, no, they're not doing any of that. And the other piece of it to remember too is that there's people that are really upset about the Yasuke stuff. They're not going to buy the game whether they trim parts of the game or story out or not. Those people are not touching the game regardless. So why would Ubisoft spend months catering to them and 20, 30, 40 million dollars increasing the dev cost to cater to those people that weren't going to buy the game no matter what? So like, you know, why would they do that? It just doesn't, no part of it makes any sense. Undertale with pirates? Dude, don't get my hopes up. You can't say stuff like that to me. How dare you? That sounds fantastic. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. You could even do like a little reversal thing. Like imagine if you did a mini Papers, Please kind of game, but it's from the perspective of like what do they call him? A harbor master, a dock master, a guy that like is taking in and out shipments and stuff and ships that are docking, and your job is to identify pirates that are coming and going and make sure you catch any that are trying to smuggle stuff through. There's all sorts of stuff you could do pirate adjacent, you know? CK Rose, thank you for subbing with Prime over on Twitch, my friend. Thank you. CYF, if GTA 6 offers $100 for 7-day early access, I bet more people will get it, which is worrying, to be honest. Oh, just you wait till I tell you what I'm about to tell you. Let's see. CYF00, also thank you for subbing with Prime, my friend. That's fantastic. Appreciate you. Thank you. Let's see. Yo, hello everyone. This is from 31 Barrel. Yo everyone, I just wanted to pop in and say two things. Enjoying your critique of The Witcher 3 a lot, currently about 2.5 hours in, and that Luke, I don't know if it's just me, but your smile looks like Johnny Galecki's, who played Leonard from Big Bang Theory. I don't know who that is, but okay. Thank you, my friend. Let's see. Nerd Rage, thank you also for that super chat. Have you gotten an early copy of AC Shadows? Are you under NDA? See, I know why you're asking this, because if I did get an early copy, I would just go no comment. But if I didn't get a copy, then I could tell you. So I know what you're doing. You think you're sneaky. I played it at the preview event. They have not sent, as far as I'm aware, they have not sent out any review codes. They haven't sent out any copies or anything like that. So I don't think that they are, they've done that at all. So no, I don't have the game. I'm not secretly playing it or anything. My guess would be they're going to be much more, yes, my guess is they're going to be much more clear about that. And what I will say is that it seems, don't take this to the bank, but it seems like they noticed how excited people got when review codes went out super early for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So I would not be surprised if they send out review codes for AC Shadows like a month early. That still would put it like review codes dropping in mid-February, but still, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. Did I get a Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 code? Yes. Yeah. That's why I'm also limited on what I can talk about there. Let's see. Where was I? What would be your dream Egyptian game. It's complicated because there's a few different routes I think you could go that could be really, really cool. I think you're kind of towing the line because you can either do the archaeological, like Indiana Jones style thing where you're going through and exploring tombs and trying to piece together mysteries and stuff. So you could do that where you can enjoy that mystery component. If you go back in time and then you like set a game in the era of the step pyramid, with Djoser, or you go back to the reign of Snefru or something and you see them building the pyramids, that stuff can be cool. But also part of the what's fascinating about ancient Egypt is like the component of the buildings that are collapsed and the temples that are abandoned and trying to piece together the mysteries of it. So I think you could do something cool, kind of melding an Indiana Jones style thing with pursuing the mystery and side of it. Hello, babe.
Hello.
How are you, my babe?
Both our kids are very cranky poo,
Oh, really?
so I'm dying.
Okay. I'll talk about GTA 6 and then I will come up and help with the kiddos.
What's there to talk about? Everyone's afraid of it.
Everyone's afraid of it. Everybody, yeah, developers and publishers are afraid of it. And also, there are some analysts hoping that they charge a lot for it, which is what we're going to talk about. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Do you want me to make another HelloFresh tonight for dinner? Do you want to eat Factors? There are more Factors on the front porch.
There's more?
It's Monday.
Oh my gosh, I'm not eating them fast enough.
We have a lot of Factors because I didn't realize when I ordered them for this past week that I was going to be going to Quebec because that was kind of a last minute thing. And so we have like a crap ton of Factors. We're just trying to get through them, but you can only eat so quick, you know? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah.
I'm feeding them to Ori.
Oh yeah, little Ori, our like 1.5-year-old. He loves them. he wants to eat the chicken mushroom with
Risotto.
like the risotto and the wild rice and whatever. He's eating it up. He's crazy. He has a refined palate. He likes complex tastes. Lockie is just pure chicken nuggets and mac and cheese all the way, all day, every day. Yeah. But okay, I'll wrap this up quick and then I can come up and help. Much love. Oh, Jeff just sent in a super chat for $5. Said a coffee for your missus since she sounds so tired from the kids. Poor thing.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm gonna hear the car door shut in a second. The wheels spinning as she drives off to get the coffee. That's great. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Let's see. Okay, we're all caught up there. Let's do this. Let's talk about this new segment. So, as Rambling Entertained said earlier in his very generous $10 super chat, funny how the same publishers who release some of the most broken and mid games in the industry are hoping that GTA 6 will release at $100 so that they can so they think they can then increase their prices to match. I agree. That is what they're hoping for. And this is something that's been talked about sort of, in the last few days. It's come up because Epilion analyst Matthew Ball broke down the game industry struggle to maintain inflation-adjusted prices. And basically, like, this is something that a lot of analysts have described to be very, very clear. But the basic argument is that when adjusted for inflation, video games are cheaper now than they have been at many other periods in the history of gaming. So as you can see here, recall that as package prices have never been lower in real terms than they are today, even though budgets are at all-time highs and player growth has stalled. So these are basically prices adjusted for inflation. So standard release prices, as you can see with the bar graph, and then the line is the real price when adjusted for inflation for today, so you can see what it would have felt like back then. So back in 1975, whatever this, I think probably 1978 maybe, you can see the price for a game would have felt like in modern dollars, like $190. And then it dropped pretty quickly with the video craze or gaming craze of the 1980s. And, with inflationary pressures through the 70s and everything that hit there, catching up in the 80s when things stabilized. But through the 80s, the effective price in modern dollars for what it would feel like to buy a game back in the 80s at full price would have felt like $120. That's what it felt like for one of those copies of a game in the 1980s. Through the 90s, it dropped. The price remained steady, but you can see inflation made the effective price or the real price feel lower. So by 2005-ish, before the price hike up to $60, it felt like an $80 spend. And then when the price hike hit, it felt like you were spending about $100 on each copy of a game. And then over the years, it has trailed down. And there was another price hike, of course, to $70 with the PS5 generation, spearheaded, bear in mind, by Take-Two Interactive, the guys, same parent company of Rockstar. So that's important to note. The people who previously raised prices and standardized that for the industry, they were the first ones to do it, I believe, with an NBA game. I think it was NBA 2K20, maybe 21, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but they were the ones that started that. And then they raised the price. You can see the effective spend was a little bit higher when adjusted for modern inflation. It felt like you were spending maybe like $85. And as you can see, the $10 price hike for Gen 9 titles in November of 2020 lost all real value in only 29 months because of the insane inflation that we have experienced in the last few years. So this is what the analyst is saying, okay? And I know it's really easy to just immediately like scoff, roll your eyes, and dismiss what the analyst is saying because he's basically arguing from a business perspective that they should raise prices. But at least I hope you can understand what he's trying to say. And then I'll talk about why I think that this is more complicated than than any of this. But effectively, in terms of the buying power of your dollar, AAA games are cheaper now when adjusted in real terms. It's cheaper now than it has been at any point in history, according to the research of this analyst, which is pretty, I mean, you can do the inflation calculator check and do it yourself. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So what do we take from this? Well, the take from the analyst is because of this, because AAA games are cheaper than ever, you could just leave it be. But the complicating factor with this is that development costs on these games are higher than at any point in gaming history. I mean, to put it in perspective, and I'm not joking with this, The Witcher 3 cost roughly $80 million to produce. Okay. That's, if you Google it, look at some articles, that's what the number is that they throw around. About $80 million for The Witcher 3. Spider-Man 2 cost, according to the leaks, about $300 million. And it was all of like 14 hours long, 12 to 14 hours long. Concord, according to some estimates, the source that Colin Moriarty spoke of, cost as much as $400 million. Last of Us Part 2, like $250 million. And now the prices are only going up. GTA 6 is estimated to cost between $1 and $2 billion, much closer to $2 billion than closer to $1. And many of these others, games like Forspoken, cost over $200 million to put together. Why? That's a great question, Ballistic Paper. Dare I say the most important question. It all goes back to like the basic economic factors that apply to every company in the world. When you have extreme inflation, it makes the price of every other good, because inflation is caused by too many dollars chasing too few goods. When you have inflation hit globally, you see prices for everything start to rise. In other words, the purchasing power of each dollar goes down because there's too many dollars chasing too few goods. So the value of each dollar decreases. And what you end up with is the cost of living goes up, the cost for food, gas, the cost for your car, the cost for childcare, the cost for medicine, for medical care, insurance, like the cost of everything in your life goes up. And as a result, the cost of paying and compensating employees goes up. The cost of shipping things goes up. The cost for internet data service goes up. Like the cost of literally everything goes up. And if you think of it as like an Excel spreadsheet, if you got the column of all of the inputs to produce a video game, and that's all the employees, that's all the cost of paying for the office space, that's all the cost of server infrastructure management, it's the cost of paying for the software engineers to run your engine, or paying Epic to work on this engine, or paying them the royalties or whatever. All of those inputs on that one column in the Excel spreadsheet, all of them go up. Your output, even if each of those columns or each of those inputs on that one column, even if each of the inputs is going up by just a little, the output, when all of that stuff is factored in, is going to be significantly higher. And that's kind of what you end up with these ballooning development costs, where in 2015, you could take a chance on a new IP on a AAA scale, and it would be about a $50 million investment. I mean, it was not that crazy. And bear in mind, at that time, people were paying $60 per copy. $50 million, $60 a copy. It's pretty easy to figure out how many you need to break even. In 2025, you're paying $70 per unit, but the budget is $300 million, $200 million, $250 million, $400 million. And real quick, you can start to understand how the number of units you need to sell needs to be way higher in order to just break even, much less turn a profit. And that's why you see the push for digital only copies, because that saves them just a little bit on the physical copies and shipping the physical copies and what they have to pay to the retail distributors and Best Buy, Walmart, Target, whatever. And so they push the digital copies because they have slightly larger margin. And it's why you see all of these other promotions for pre-orders, for bundling, for deluxe editions, because if they can push a deluxe edition, then they get $90 out of you or $80 out of you. They push a collector's edition, you pay $250 for, and it only costs them a little bit more to make each of the statues and the stickers and the stamps or whatever else comes in it. And so they push that to increase the margins and get more. And it's just a reality of the industry that in the modern day, you need to sell way more copies of your games to break even than you did for the same type of game, the same scale of game on the AAA scale 10 years ago. The problem is the industry hasn't really grown that much. Like, that can work if there are 50% more gamers buying games today. That checks out, right? Like, there's way more gamers, so you can sell more copies. That hasn't really translated, though. In fact, in the last couple of years, the industry has kind of stagnated, which is part of what's led to all the layoffs and stuff over the last couple of years, because these companies were hiring and were greenlighting projects assuming that there were going to be 20% more customers in 5 years. And there's not going to be 20% more customers in 5 years. It's pretty clear that that's not going to happen. And once that growth starts to slow, then all of the trajectories and goals and all the budgeting, everything starts to shift and change. In the simplest way, if you're expecting, the financial performance of the industry to keep going up, or if, even exponentially, whatever, even if you expect it to kind of trail off a little bit. And so at this time period right here, we'll say that this is 2020, you have to greenlight projects that are going to take 4 years to make. So they're greenlighting projects that are going to be really, really expensive. And they're like, hey, we're going to have enough players that we can shoot for something like right here. And so we should be profitable. We should make that. And then in 2021, you greenlight a project that's going to release over here. And so you greenlight a bigger project, a bigger budget. That can all start to work. But what happens if this chart, if this estimated growth is wrong? if this starts to go slower than you expected, your budgets are way too high. And all of a sudden you have to do disproportionately higher volume. You have to have higher margins. You have to sell bigger, packages, larger price tag ones, deluxe editions, collector's editions, gold editions, all that, just to break even once that growth starts to slow. And so you start to end up in some serious trouble. And that's where the AAA gaming space is right now, is that all of those dev costs ballooned like crazy, largely because of inflation. I know some people say it's corporate greed or it's the executives' greed or whatever. Most executives are compensated with stock options, and stock options are not like they're issued from the company typically. Like it's not like paying somebody out of your checking account. Okay. Like, yes, they often have salaries, but the salaries account for a percentage point of their total compensation because most of their money comes from stock packages and awards and stuff. So it's like the dev costs and the budgets of these games isn't really affected by whether the company issued stock. You could say, technically indirectly because it's factored into the cost of the company and the performance of the company. Sure. But it's not a direct thing. Like the budget for Spider-Man 2 being $300 million, the compensation of the executives was not factored into that budget. That's not where they get that number. That number is a separate number over there, right? So I think we can all understand what the analyst is saying. The industry has not increased its prices in proportion to where we are with inflationary pressures and everything like that. If they were, and if we compare it back to the era of like 2015 when these types of big projects were being greenlit, the modern purchasing power was about $80 for those games. And so if they raised the price to 80, you could see that work. Or if you raised it up to 100, which would become the standard for this analyst for the industry, then, that would be back in like the late 90s era of purchasing power and cost, or, the 2005 era when the price jumped to 60. And they honestly, like, the industry would adjust eventually. I don't think the industry would implode because a lot of people spend a lot more than $100 on the games that they're buying. They'll buy Call of Duty for 70 and then they'll spend hundreds on skins and stuff. Just because you and I think that that's ridiculous does not mean that the average consumer would not adjust to it pretty quickly. And here's the thing, like, all of this is building up into what Ball claims many other decision makers are hoping is that Take-Two will price GTA 6 between $80 and $100 to break the price barrier so other publishers can justify following suit because GTA 6 will be big enough that they can get away with it. And I think that this is unlikely. But what I think they're going to do, and to be clear, like, the more I've thought about this, the more I've started to feel like the likelihood of them pricing it at 80 is actually higher than you might expect. Still not likely. If it was a 5% chance before, now maybe it's a 10, given how this year has gone in the industry. But I think what's most likely to happen is, the 90% likelihood is that they price it at 70, but they'll have like a $120 version. And the $120 version will be the deluxe or the outlaw, whatever version that they call it. And it's going to cost $120, and it's going to give you 5 days early access to the game, or a week early access, something like pretty severe. And everybody's gonna buy it. Like, everybody. Because nobody's gonna want to be the one sucker that misses out. And they also get other benefits. Like, they can do physical copies will not be included in the early access. And so if you want a physical copy, you have to wait until launch day. So then they get all of those people that were going to get the physical copy, they buy the digital copy because they want to play it early. And then they're going to introduce GTA Online, and that's going to be, they're going to no doubt launch a day one, like $15 a month membership for extra shark cards or whatever. Like, it's going to start to spill pretty quickly. And they're going to be aggressive in pricing. And without a doubt, like they're going to get away with whatever they do. And it is kind of like a frustrating thing if you're somebody that is budgetarily constrained, or if you're in a situation where you don't have $150 to spend on something like this. I can understand how it's very frustrating, and it's crazy to hear that so many people will be so willing to do it. But I really do think if they price GTA 6 early access version 120, I think millions of people will pay for that. Every streamer on the planet is going to be playing it. Every YouTuber will be making videos about it. Kids are going to call out from school. People are going to call out from work. I've had a prediction for like a year, 2 years at this point, that I think you will actually be able to see data in internet service providers, in freaking electrical companies. Like, you'll see the impact of GTA 6's launch within all those companies. You'll see the grid strained as everybody boots up their gaming computers and stuff. And if you don't think that, I think you don't understand how freaking massive GTA 6 is going to be. Like, there is a reason why they expect this one game to have a significant impact on not just Sony's financial year, but also Xbox's financial year, because of all the consoles that they're going to force people to go buy because it's not going to launch on PC day one. Like, it's going to have a monstrous effect. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. So all of this to say, I can understand why people are jumping down this guy's throat. I still think it's very, very unlikely that they do this, that they jump to $100 per unit. But if they did, or if they went to $80 a unit, and then its early access is 120, people would freak out. There would be YouTube videos, there'd be TikToks and shorts and stuff. For all I know, the TikTokers would love it, because they want to get invited to early access stuff, so they'd probably suck up to them. But I'm sure people will freak out if they did it. It's still probably like a 10% likelihood if they did it. But all those same people freaking out about it would still pay it. Because everybody would go, yeah, I'm not happy about it. But it's only $10 more. And it's GTA 6. Everybody's going to do it. And then if they go to 100, people would be like, that's outrageous. I mean, it is like a $2 billion game. And I really want to play it. So, and then Red Dead was pretty good too. And people will buy it. People will. They'll save up a little bit more. They won't go out to McDonald's that night or whatever, and they'll buy it. And the thing is, I think Take-Two knows that. And they know if any game could get away with it, it's GTA 6. And the second they do it, you'll see many other publishers following suit. It'll take a little bit of time. You know, there was, just like with the $70 price hike, there were a number of companies that held out and didn't want to do that. And there will still be companies that price at the old price point of $70 to come off as pro consumer or whatever else. You know, I think Baldur's Gate 3 was priced at $60 at launch because they felt like that was fair. And so you'll see, you know, some companies that are being like, we're only going to launch at 70 because we're looking out for you. Even though they just shifted everything forward. But that's just how this works. You know, that's how the industry works. So we'll see where they land. Like I said, I think it's maybe a 10% likelihood that it happens. And if it does happen, I think I won't be that surprised if they hike the price, but time will tell. We should find out relatively soon once they launch pre-orders and stuff, but time will tell. Let's see. Let me catch up on this real quick. Then I got to get up to Nikki. Let's see. Where was I? Nathan, thank you for the 5 thoughts about Elon Musk talking about starting up a game studio that uses AI to help accelerate development and planning. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. I think there's a lot of talk, but whether he actually follows through on it, who knows? Elon is a very smart guy. He's very capable at a lot of things, but like creative fields and like video game art direction, stories, writing and stuff, that is not like creativity in that facet is not typically, an engineer's strong suit. You need kind of a village to make a game. And he's got one very specific strong suit and he's very capable at it, but I will believe it when I see it. Jeff, again, thank you for the coffee. Nerd Rage, thank you also for the question about the NDA. That's funny. David, thank you for that 5. I get the analyst's point, but income hasn't kept up with inflation. Disposable income is lower than before, which impacts spending habits, I think. Yeah, no, I mean, without a doubt, everybody is struggling to pay their bills nowadays. There is no question there. Like, but I'm sure what Take-Two would say is, yeah, you're struggling to pay your bills. So are we. So this is just where it has to be, because we have to pay our employees who are struggling to pay their bills with their current pay. So if we want to raise their pay, we have to raise the cost of the game, because we won't be able to justify paying them that much if we don't raise the price of it, blah, blah. Like they'll just spin it right back on those people. So yeah, I think so. I think that's what they'll say. Sumaya, thank you for that one. 1590 reviews going live a day after AC Shadows previews. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize they were doing reviews already. MJR Payne 97, thank you for that 5. Is it possible we see another gaming crash like the 80s? If it costs $100 to stabilize things, I wouldn't mind. I'd probably finish more games. I don't think we see a crash like the 80s. The 80s was a weird time, and it was very early on in the existence of video games. Like video games were very, very new. It wasn't even considered to be like an industry on the scale anywhere close to what it is today. So no, I don't think we're headed for a crash. Every like year and a half, people are saying, oh, a new gaming crash is coming. Like go back and like, you can do this on Google where you type in a search term and then you filter it by time, and you can say search from this month to this month in this year and tell me what it is. And you can find pretty much any time period, you'll find people claiming that there's a gaming crash coming. It happens all the time. You could say maybe right now we're in that crash because companies are having to raise prices and cancel all these live service games. So you could say maybe it's happening now, but nothing like what happened in the 80s. The 80s was, I mean, that was a whole other thing. Let's see. MMORPG Al, thank you for the 5. So far, I budgeted to buy 5 copies of GTA 6 at launch, and I made my plans with my job to take a month off. That's hilarious and awesome, and I think you are not alone in taking time off. 5 copies of GTA 6 at launch? Maybe excessive. Maybe. Set aside some money for ordering in McDonald's. Edgar, thank you for the 10. Luke, it's corporations. People are dumb and will buy it. Deep down, you know this to be true. I mean, I agree. I totally agree. You got me there. I mean, I agree. People will buy it no matter what. And that's the strength of GTA 6 is that they know that you're going to buy it no matter what. So they can get away with kind of whatever they want. There is a point where people wouldn't. Like if they started it at 150, I don't think people would buy it. 100, I think a lot more people would buy it than you might initially think. Edgar, thank you for the 2. You should see what Elon did tonight. Should I? Do I even want to? I don't know. That scares me. Nerd Rage, thank you for that super chat. Can you pinky swear you're going to do a 3-hour video like in Valhalla if you don't like it? That's why I found you, by the way. I love that video. For AC Shadows. If I hate AC Shadows, I would imagine coming from the team that did Odyssey, I imagine it will be a very big game and there will be plenty of stuff to talk about. So yeah. Let me see. I can't relate to people unable to wait for games. Just do something else. Video games are just a form of entertainment. I mean, there's a social component, and with something like GTA 6 or other big narrative games, people don't want it spoiled. And so they just want to know what's up. So I think that's a part of it too. GTA 6 costing that much, says Rambling thing for the 5. Costing that much isn't the issue. What I want to know is why every other studio think their games are worth that. Match Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring first. Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very fair point. But I think that, it's just going to be, the standard is just going to be shifted, and they're going to be like, this is what AAA games cost now. So AAA games are, that's what we are, and we're going to price there. And like I said, it's going to take a year. Some companies will slowly hop on, or they'll do way more aggressive early access stuff. We'll see. Yeah, Hollywood Spiral, I'm staying off the internet as soon as it drops. Yeah. Let's see. John, thank you for the 2. Elon did a Nazi salute 2 hours ago. It's real. Oh, really? Well, I mean, that sounds like quite the clip. I'm sure I will see it when I hop off stream and check X. I'm sure it's all over that. Like, if that's true, that's crazy. Hi Luke, I'm new. Thank you for being here. That's BS. Twitter. Dude, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I just didn't even think about it. I was just like, X. I was like, send me a DM on X or whatever. You would have thought I like said a slur. They're like, you really call it that? It's like, what are you talking about? I just called it what it's called. He did. I saw it twice. It's BS. He did not do it. He definitely did it. Looked like it to me. Okay. Tried to play it off. Okay. Well, I mean, either way, it sounds like there's some hot tea on X. So there you go. Never a dull moment. I'll tell you what. Never a dull moment. Well, everybody, I'm very sorry. Like I said, I told my wife I was going to talk about GTA 6 and then go up and help her with the kids. So that's what I'm going to do. I appreciate the gosh darn heck out of all of you guys for hanging out, for chilling with me. And I will be back. Hopefully they come fix the internet first thing in the morning tomorrow, and then we can get back into the regular swing of things. I'm going to keep the Starlink hooked up just as a supplement. So worst case scenario, if I need to use that, I can. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. We'll be back. We're getting back into the groove of covering games and talking about all this stuff. I can't wait to hit up another fantastic year of gaming with you guys. It's going to be a crazy one. And on the 23rd, we get to talk about AC Shadows. Sounds like 24th, we're going to have a look at the RTX 50 series. There's going to be tons of stuff. So buckle up. Thanks for chilling with me. Thanks for being amazing and making my dreams a reality. You guys are amazing. I love you all dearly. And I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.